Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to another Office Hours here on Hosting.com's Agency Success. My name is Nathan Ingram. I am the agency trainer here at Hosting.com. And every week you get to come into my virtual office and ask whatever you'd like to do. We're having a little fun in the pre-show because my little macro app called Text Expander that I rely on a lot to store little text macros that expand, much like for example, the office hours questions link, it just decided to stop working. I don't know why. It'll work and then it will stop working inexplicably and I have to restart it. So I don't know. If you have a question, I hope you can get it in. Yeah, it quit working again. So crazy. Yeah, I have several interesting WordPress news items we'll get to in just a minute. And okay, thank you, Dave, for asking that question because I was going to talk about that as well. So last week I recommended a lifetime deal, or I suggested you try it. Recommendation might be strong. And so I'm still experimenting back and forth with Voice Dash, which is currently available in AppSumo. It's inexpensive. I think it's like $50 for a lifetime deal versus Whisperflow, Whisper, Whisper. I think there's no E, Whisperflow. If you Google it, you'll find it, which is like a monthly deal. And Whisperflow just continues to be significantly better. But what you'll have to decide is Voice Dash good enough for you? Whisperflow is better dictation, particularly around technical terms, whereas Voice Dash is, I'm having problems sometimes with it taking a little while for the words to land in the box where I'm trying to type. So I don't know. You'll have to decide, is it frustrating enough? Is it worth it? So yeah, I'm kind of back and forth still. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. So yeah. Whisperflow is a transcription tool. It's like the old Dragon Naturally Speaking, if any of you old tech geezers remember that. But this actually works really well. Anyway, yeah, it's great. It's especially good when you're interacting with your AI tools. Anyhow, still playing around with those two tools, and I would recommend that you do too. AppSumo has a 60-day return policy, so you can play with it for a couple of months, see what you think. That's what I'm doing. All right, well, let's get started with some WordPress news, shall we? And we'll start off with some sad news, and that is that Joost de Valk and Kareem Maruki have stepped away from FAIR. You may recall that FAIR is the free and independent repositories project that was aiming to create a parallel of WordPress.org. Basically, WordPress.org, every single WordPress site, 40+% of the internet, in order to check for updates, phones home to WordPress.org. So all of our sites are connecting to WordPress.org to get our updates. And with all of the kerfluffle that happened a couple of years ago now, or whenever that was, a year and a half ago, there was this alternate repository suggested, and really a chain of repositories that would federate together as an alternative to WordPress.org for lots of different reasons. One of the main ones being a supply chain. Like, what happens if WordPress.org breaks, or if someone takes it over, or whatever? It's a whole thing. And Joost and Kareem tried to make this project work. Unfortunately, it just ran into a funding issue, and they were not able to secure appropriate funding for FAIR. And basically, the crux of I'm going to drop this article in, and I would recommend, if you've been following FAIR, you can read it at the link at the chat. It's from the repository, which I think is the best spot for WordPress journalism these days. There's a great little summary here. They didn't step away. So they stepped away not because they love the current situation, but because they agree with everything that happened. That's not the quote I'm looking for. It's down. Oh, here we go. So a lot of FAIR was in reaction to what Matt Mullenweg did when the whole WP Engine thing came up a year and a half ago. They said, "We fundamentally disagree with how he handled his frustration. The methods may have caused damage, but the underlying economic problem in WordPress is real." So that's their take on it, and they've stepped away because they do not see that it's a viable option anymore. So That's kind of sad, but that's where we are today. Let's move into some other things. So, how many of you have experimented with OpenClaw? Anybody tried it yet? Sound off in the chat. Anybody played with OpenClaw at all? I have read things that are both good and scary and bad. And yes, so there's an exclamation point after an opinion expressed in the chat, which is usually you see people on both sides of this, right? So Chris from my team has been experimenting with OpenClaw for some time, running it on a standalone VPS. Some of the installation suggestions are you put it on an older computer, like an old Mac Mini or something like that, that's in its own little world. Um, there, the main issue up to this point has been security, and that's a legitimate concern, particularly with the marketplace of skills. But a lot of those things are being addressed. So, be aware of it, if nothing else. This is a neat little plugin that allows you to, you can connect your WordPress site with OpenClaw. It's pretty interesting. And here's my challenge to you. If you have avoided OpenClaw because all you read about are their security concerns, I would suggest that you look into it a little further. Because it's easy to dismiss something because there's a lot of loud screaming voices about it. However, yes, there are some issues, but also the underlying technology is really, really interesting. So read a little and see what you think. And so some of the impact of today's office hours news items are going to be, they're going to file under that banner, which is, guess what, y'all? There's another thing we have to learn. And the issue is this, we have to stay fluent with what's going on in AI. If we want to remain relevant as technical advisors to people and we also happen to do web things, we have to be fluent about all of these changes happening in AI. And we can't bury our head in the sand about it or just quickly and simply dismiss something like OpenClaw because there are security concerns. Heck, there's security concerns with WordPress, y'all, if you don't do it right. Fair point? So we need to learn about these tools. And, just like many years ago, we had to learn about WordPress. And me personally, made the statement to many people that WordPress is going to kill my business because my business model was a few clients with custom built sites and Macromedia Dreamweaver. They couldn't edit their own sites. They had to pay high dollar retainers to me, and I would edit it for them. Well, that technology was surpassed by the CMS revolution of the late aughts, the late aught years. So, we have to pivot. Technology is always changing, and this is one of those things. So, my encouragement to you, as your old buddy Nathan, is to not simply dismiss something out of hand because there's a lot of people worried about security. They should be worried about security. And I'm not saying that's illegitimate. I'm just saying we still need to be aware of the technology and what it could do. Is that fair? That was almost a soapbox, but that was pretty early for a soapbox. Okay, here we go. Speaking of AI and WordPress and becoming fluent with all the things it can do. We talked about this last week. We are on the weekly beta rollout for WordPress 7.0, which is going to be released in April. And target date is April the 9th, as you can see right there. Beta 3 was released today, I believe. Yeah, it's a Thursday release cadence. So it was released today. And if you missed this last week, I want to show it again. I'm going to drop this link in the chat because the most valuable thing on this page is this link, which will let you, with a click, pop open a browser tab, and using the WordPress Playground interface, it will let you see a clean version of WordPress 7.0 Beta 3. So let's do that. Here's Playground starting. This runs in browser memory. And so here we are. We are running WordPress 7.0 Beta 3 right here in the browser. Boom, that quick. Isn't that cool? So this is the thing that I want to draw your attention to, because if you didn't see this last week, y'all, this, it's gonna be a game changer. It's going to change everything. And it is settings and connectors. This is core WordPress. Core WordPress is going to let you connect with Claude. Now, these don't do anything yet because they haven't been built and put. This will roll into core, but you'll be able to connect. Oh, you'll be able to connect your WordPress with your API key for your favorite AI provider. Now, what that will allow you to do is get agentic all of a sudden with your WordPress install right from WordPress core. This is, y'all, game changing. It's going to change everything. Again, like it, I feel like I'm saying that a lot when it comes to AI, but we're in this season right now where you may remember like the last year or 2 years, like every couple months, there was something crazy new that would change everything. It's becoming every couple of weeks because what's happening is AI is building AI. And we could say, what could possibly go wrong with that? Like, wasn't there a movie? Was it with Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that? Yeah, maybe. But AI is building AI. And so things are happening and rapidly developing. And if we're going to stay relevant, if you're going to keep doing this, we have to be plugged into these changes. So this is coming to core WordPress in April. 1 month from now, WordPress 7.0 is going to be released, and these connectors are going to be live. And it's going to scare you on some things, but it also, I hope, will help make you start thinking outside the box of what creative and clever things could I do to leverage this technology and work differently. It also means that some of the core of our business model may have to shift into almost becoming AI consultants and not just WordPress consultants. Because like the institutional knowledge that we hold in our head about WordPress, it's going to be pretty available to anybody that wants to jump in there and do it. And so we're looking at a major pivot in what we do. And I just want to prepare you for that. If you're not thinking about that already, you need to be thinking about that. Okay. That's fun, isn't it? All right. Speaking of AI and WordPress, this is the What's New in AI experiments. I did talk about this last week, I believe, as well, but I want to show you this again. This is part of what those connectors are going to do. And if you missed this last week, I want to make sure you see it, because what's going to happen here is we're using our AI connector to generate, boom, an article summary. It's an article summary block, and it just happens right here inside of WordPress. That's pretty darn cool. Also, featured image generation. This is going to be core. So you click featured image, it's going to go out and generate an AI image using probably OpenAI or whatever tool you have connected that can do this sort of thing. So it's looking at the content, building a prompt based on the content, and in a minute, it's going to generate that featured image. Legal and copyrights is a question, right? It's as legal and copyright as any other AI generated image. So there you go. So what it did there, look, it gave you the prompt that it used, and there's our image that it generated. Here also, alt text. This I actually kind of like. Let's start over again. Here we go. So we're going to scroll down. There's our image. Scroll down, generate alt text. Go talk to the AI. It looks at the image, and it's going to generate alt text, which is pretty good. Field of yellow flowers and green foliage under a clear blue sky. That's great alt text. Pretty interesting. So there you go. All those things coming to a WordPress near you. So Beth just said we're becoming obsolete. I know what you're saying with that, and I've had those thoughts as well, but we have to pivot our thinking, because like it's easy to think that what I do is build WordPress sites for clients. That's not what I do. If your business is building websites, then you have a problem. If your business is helping your clients solve their problem via technology, the world is your oyster at this point, because the technical things that you can do now without having to have lots of expertise, that amount has just risen in multiples. So we have to think about not so much I build websites. That's very short-sighted thinking. It's I'm talking to my clients. I'm a bridge. I'm the translator between my client and accomplishing their goal with technology. And there's going to be a place for us in that. And that has to be where our thoughts are going. Does that make sense? And Stacy's saying people can do what I do now. Yes. And some of them can. However, here's the piece, okay? I've thought long and hard about this over the last couple of weeks because I had a bit of an existential crisis around this a few weeks ago. And here's the thing, at least now, okay, at least for now, there is something unique. There's something unique about being a human, okay? And some of that comes from a faith worldview, and I get that. I don't want to put that on anybody else, but there's something unique about being a human, okay? And it translates into wisdom in this scenario. AI, as good as the output is, you can still look at AI and go, it's something, I just have a gut feeling that that is not correct or it's not fully complete. And AI will be very confidently wrong about some things, right? And so that there's a place for us to use AI well and navigate people through this new technology. And I think that's where we're all headed. If I had a crystal ball, which I don't, that's my biggest guess. Some people are going to take the bull by the horns and use AI to do things themselves. But there's still going to be a place for people who just don't even want to touch it. And they want to bring people in to help them, or they just don't want to spend the time to do it. So that piece of what we do continues. It's just in a new set of technology. Yeah, but we're on the pivot. Like we're at a major pivot point here in the technical world. Okay, let's move a little bit forward into this next article, which is a fun little tool from Bing Webmaster Tools. By the way, if you weren't aware, Bing is a search engine built by Microsoft. In case you've never heard of them before, they also have a Webmaster Tools thing, much like Google Webmaster Tools. Now it's Google Search Console, right? Bing still calls it Webmaster Tools. You can Google it. If you don't have an account set up, you should probably set it up because it does give some good insight on how Bing people find your websites that you manage. They have added this new menu item called AI Performance that I found to be pretty interesting because what they're doing is giving you a window into when your site is coming up as references in generative AI, it's exposing that, like how many citations you're getting, what those queries were. It's pretty cool. So if you haven't set up Bing Webmaster Tools, do that. It's actually part of our website launch process. We set up Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools, and it's helpful. This is an interesting window into AI search traffic. So pretty cool. All right. Here, if you're a main WP user, you probably have seen this already and you're very happy about it. This came out about a little over a week ago from my buddy Mark Benzicane. Main WP has built an MCP. Now, if you don't know what an MCP is, it's basically an instruction layer that's a translator between some application like WordPress and an AI tool. It's basically an instruction set that says, okay, Claude, you want to go in and do some edits in my WordPress site. Here's how you do that, is basically what it is. So main WP, which is like a multi-site management tool like Manage WP and Umbrella and some of the other ones. Basically, they have built an MCP that lets you, through their existing connection, manage your sites with AI right there in the main WP console. That's pretty darn cool. I do not use main WP, but this makes me want to really try it. And if your favorite website manager tool that you're using for your agency, it's likely something like this is coming to them as well. So that's pretty cool. All right, gosh, time is getting away from us because of my little rant earlier. Sorry about that. Here's another interesting tool that I think is worth a look, and that is Phantom WP. So How many of you remember the discussions a couple of years ago when everybody was talking about headless WordPress? This is where you have like a flat HTML file website front end, but it's actually powered by WordPress. They've got WordPress running in this hidden place in the background, and it pushes the files, these flat files out. And there's a bunch of tools for that and whatever. And it never, I mean, it's hasn't gotten great traction, but this tool, what it does is it does a similar thing. It's creating flat files, but it's pushing them out to a technology called Astro, which is a big supported library of things that works really well. You can even host it at Cloudflare. It's pretty cool. And it'll push your WordPress site out to a flat file, and it is lightning fast. Pretty neat. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, check out Phantom WP. It's not terribly expensive, and I think they let you play around with it for free. It's like $149 lifetime deal right now. It's pretty neat. Anyway, many AI things. And before, again, the banner of all of that last discussion is before you just say no to anything, be aware of all the things that are coming. Have awareness of the tools that are out there, because that's kind of where our value as professionals is coming in. We are truly solutions providers. We don't just build websites. So, yeah. One more thing, my buddy Kyle has released the Admin Bar 2026 Agency Survey. So if you haven't taken this yet, it takes less than 10 minutes, 20 questions about your agency. And there's always really, really good, interesting takeaways from the annual WordPress Agency Survey. So that Airtable link is there in the chat if you want to do that. A couple of upcoming live streams here from us at hosting.com. First, on Tuesday, I'll be talking about dialing in your pricing. That's always a fun discussion. And we'll be talking about how to price your work correctly, how to think about your pricing, some tips on negotiation, and so forth. So we'll be talking about that on Tuesday. And then in a couple weeks, March 24th, really excited to be giving you this framework to rewrite your website in an hour, which guess what? You could do the same thing with a client website. So this is going to be a bit of a workshop-y type live stream where we're going to be doing some things live, and you'll see how that works coming up March 24th. So if you've not yet signed up for those, the link to do so is in the chat. All right, that was a longer than normal beginning. Sorry about that, but I hope that information was helpful. If you have a question to ask, please use the link in the chat, which I'm struggling to paste again because my tool has stopped working. My macro tool has stopped working again, and it's just going to be that way. So if one of you would be kind enough to copy that little blurb of text and paste it from time to time, I would be very grateful. Let's begin with the first question in the list, and it is from Awesome Paul. Hey, Paul. Paul says, all righty, a WordPress question, actually a WordPress homepage question. Does it matter what the page name is called or the slug if the page is set to the home page under settings? So great question. We are talking about here at settings. Wow, this is slow today. Settings and reading, I believe, isn't that where it is? Yes, where you can select a page to be your home page and a page to be your posts/blog page. Does it matter? And the answer is sort of. Sort of. So you can call it whatever you want. And when you go to your website up here, like, so my homepage is called uniquely home, right? So if you edit this page, it's home. And so you'll see that up here as the page title, which is something that carries, frankly, a lot of weight when Google looks at the page. So when you look at this in the view source, title. All right, that's not what we wanted. All right, the actual here in the head, the HTML title markup, this is important for Google. It's as important as your H1 on the page. They need to have having some key descriptive keywords there is helpful. So does it matter what it's called there as the page title? Yes, in default WordPress unless you're using something like Yoast to change what the page title is, right? So your title matters. And in core WordPress, without any kind of SEO plugin, this is your page title. So yes, it matters what the title. Does the slug matter or the permalink over here matter? No, because even if I were to go to, my goodness, Nathan.com/home, for example, which is the permalink of my homepage, it's just going to go right to the home. Like it doesn't, the slug doesn't matter for the homepage because WordPress knows if you've got it set as the homepage, just slash that. It doesn't have a permalink per se because it's just the domain, right? Other pages, the slug matters a little bit, and nobody knows exactly how much. Some SEOs will tell you it matters everything. The world will stop if you don't have keywords in your slug. Others will say, it's a little teeny tiny bit, but it's not a huge thing. It apparently has some, who knows, some value in the ranking algorithm. So, Paul, does that answer your question? It matters, sort of. The slug doesn't matter. The title matters. So did we catch all of that? Let's see. Yeah. So the fact that it's domain.com/master this thing copy doesn't matter. Nobody's ever going to see it. Yeah, you change the title, so that's not the issue. Yeah, no problem. And to sneak in another question, do we say URL anymore, or is IRL the correct term? I applaud your attempt at humor. We use URL. IRL. Yes. Okay. Anyway, moving on to Gene. Gene is next. All right, Gene. Okay. I'm still using ChatGPT, but I hear you and others prefer Claude. Yeah. Is it possible for you to do a quick demo of Claude and talk about how to transition from Chat to Claude and why? I have quite a bit of folders and conversation history in ChatGPT. Do you still keep the paid version of Chat after moving to Claude? Okay. So what I can do is answer some questions around this, but I'm currently unable to do a demo of Claude because I am at my context length window. It won't do anything for me right now until 30 minutes from now. So I did a lot of work in Claude, Claude Code this morning on some things, and I can't even open. Like I can open it up, but it won't do anything because, yeah, it won't talk to me anymore. I've reached my limit, even on the paid plan. I did a lot this morning. So some other answers to your questions. Yes, I do prefer Claude because I believe, well, I like it for a number of reasons. First, I think it depends on what you're using it for and how well you prompt it. But in general, for me, I found I get better output from Claude across the board. But that could vary back and forth. I'll go to ChatGPT now still for quick questions about different things. But if I'm creating something, whether it's code or files or whatever, Claude is the way to go. And Claude's even really good for content generation. I just kind of use it differently. And so that being said, yes, I'm still paying for the $20 a month version of both ChatGPT and Claude. It's the best $40 I spend every month. And I'm on the cusp of bumping up to the $100 a month Claude because I've built some things in Claude over the last few weeks that I think I'm going to end up using beyond my capacity, and I need them. So I can't do a quick demo today. However, this is something we were talking about this in our agency success planning meeting a week ago or so. And I'm going to fit in at some point soon-ish in the schedule an overview jump in the bucket with Claude. Like, how does this thing work? I did find this really good infographic that's a really gnarly URL. I guess if you want this, I could drop it in the chat, see if that takes you anywhere. You might be able to look at this. Anyway, this kind of gives you this is why Claude is helpful. And it's really because of Claude Code and Claude Cowork. These two models are fundamentally different than ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT has a similar tool to Claude Code and Claude Cowork called Codex, but it's just not very user friendly. It's very developery to the point where like I don't even want to use it. That's a personal thing. So if you like IDEs and you've got something set up, I like the chat interface. It's part of my workflow. And in the new Claude Mac app, I can switch between Claude Chat AI, Claude Code, and Claude Cowork. Now, here and down here, this is really the meat of this graphic, because you can see in a standard chat, like you start with a prompt through the chat UI. Claude thinks about it a little bit. It's got a few tools and a little bit of memory in the context of that chat. That's about it, and then it'll output something. The way this works is the prompt goes through this whole extra command line interface when you're using Claude Code. And you can see it doing these things in the app. So you're not having to use terminal or anything like that. You see it crunching and doing things, and it's using different Claude models. But this right here, the multi-system, multi-file memory and the multi-file editing, this has opened up more for me in the last 2 to 3 weeks than maybe I've done with AI in the last year. And just thinking about this. So instead of losing context, saving things in discrete Markdown documents and things like that, I can't really explain it even really well right now. I don't have a handle on it well enough, but it's just fundamentally different than your regular chat interface, because you can have this body of information that it never forgets, including skills that you build it. And a skill is just a Markdown document with an instruction set. Like if there's something I do a lot, I can, instead of having to save it in my stored instructions and hope that the chat remembers what that is, it can live in a document and refer to it, right? So it never loses that context, and it just keeps getting better and better. So Cowork is similar to that. It doesn't have quite, it's just a little bit of a different approach to code. I haven't really found a huge practical difference in my workflow yet between Claude Code and Claude Cowork. Aside from Claude Code, I've got it set where it pushes things to GitHub automatically for me if I tell it to. There's some other things, but anyway, this is a good overview. There's so much to learn here, y'all. This is fun stuff, and it really can change fundamentally how you're using AI. So, Gene, I don't know if I answered your question or not. If you're not using Claude yet, try Claude. It's worth $20 to experiment with. Give it $20. Oh, transitioning from ChatGPT to Claude. That was the big, and you all may have heard me say this in office hours recently, of like, I have friction moving away from ChatGPT to Claude because ChatGPT knows me so well, right? And so every time I hit, like I'm having ChatGPT export information about me in different domains that I work in. By domains, I mean like life domains and like work domains, not .com domains. I'm just having it export this knowledge gradually as I'm building my work in Claude. And Claude is getting to know me smarter and smarter and smarter. And it's pretty daggum amazing. It's crazy how this works. So did I cover all your questions here, Gene? I know there's a lot. There's so much to talk about here. We could do, 2 hours on just this. But there you go. Again, major takeaway from this whole office hours, I hope you'll find, is just go experiment with the tools. Try it. Do what you're doing. Like, keep doing what you're doing, but ask yourself the question, how could AI make this easier? Like, what would happen if I connected this and this? Like, and ask those questions, not just to yourself, but to your AI buddy, and let it give you ideas, because it's pretty good at giving ideas. Yeah. Yeah, it's you know what? They both ChatGPT and Claude lowered their monthly amounts from $20 to $17. I don't know why. I really don't think anybody would care. Is $3 really a berry? I don't know, but they did it. They're both $17 a month now. Thanks for mentioning that. Oh, is it annual? Oh, they bump it back to anyway. It's $20. Just it's worth $20 to investigate. Call it a learning opportunity. Okay. Next question is Tanya. And before I do that, did we cover all of that well enough? Gene, did you get your question answered? Okay. Do I have a good course to learn Claude? Gene, there are 800 million thousand AI Claude YouTube tutorials. I'm sure somebody's put together a structured Claude course. I don't know what it is. I would tell you just get in there and start using it day to day. And Melanie's right in the chat. Things change so quickly, like overnight, flip a switch, and there's these new tabs at the top of Claude for chat, co-work, and code. Like it's just in there already. It's crazy. Yeah, it changes so quickly. The best thing I'm just using it and asking it questions and just being curious about here's some things I'm doing and how could I do this better? How could I leverage AI to do this better? Okay. Tanya is next. Hey, Tanya. Oh, this is a good question. I actually did some research ahead of time for you, Tanya, and found this answer. So, and let's just do a quick poll. Of those of you who do WooCommerce, have you seen this start to happen? Where on the checkout page, instead of saying shipping, it says shipment 1. Has anybody seen that? And if you haven't, you may want to go look at some WooCommerce sites you manage and see if they're doing this. Yeah, now you need to look. Just have one more thing to do after office hours, right? So the question from Tanya is, the Woo label says shipment 1. How do I change it to shipping? Shipment 1 implies there just might be a shipment 2, and you're right. And it's a known issue. And it's actually, it's not a bug, it's a feature, according to WooCommerce. Here is the, and you can see my source is ChatGPT because I got curious because I noticed this too after you pointed it out, Tanya. I had not noticed it until then. So here's this person reporting the issue with some good information. And a WooCommerce support person says, scrolling, and there's some code, scrolling. Yes, this is expected behavior introduced in 10.5.x, and it's related to shipping package labeling rather than a bug in your setup. It's a feature, not a bug. And somebody else, and right to change it back to shipping, you can update the text directly using Loco Translate, and that'll show you how to do it. So you can do it that way, or you can use the code snippet. Sue, I was asking myself that question too, and I really don't know the answer to that. Why, oh, why would they have done this? Because they meant to do it. It is the intended behavior. I don't know why. It's a great question. And there's something else here that I'll get to in a minute. So any other thoughts on this? Yeah, I don't know why they would do this or call it shipment if there's only one. And if it's 2, then shipment 2, right? But if it's 1, it should just say shipment. Give me a break. This just seems like a no-brainer. There are, however, many very smart people on the WooCommerce team. And I'm sure there's some reason for this, that if they explained it, we might understand better. However, from a user perspective, I don't get this. Yeah, it only says that on the checkout page. Tanya, it's a great question. There is code to fix that they've given you. You can do it here or in Loco Translate, like the little video that Frank Remy has given us here. But yeah, you're not crazy. You're not the only one. It's not just your site, and Woo meant to do it. So there you go. The other thing I want to talk about here is this, where a person says, me too, basically. I'm reporting the same issue. And how many of you knew that is a no-no on the WordPress plugin support forums? You cannot say, me too, I'm having this issue. You must submit another request. It is considered forum spam. I don't understand this either. It would seem to me that it would be helpful to the plugin developer to have all of his issues like in a line and for you to be able to get, to contribute meaningful things, particularly if that user doesn't go back to the forum that submitted the ticket. I don't know. But you can't do that. And I learned that the hard way because I got an abrupt little email from a forum manager saying you can't Me Too support tickets. So there you go. Anyway, there you have it. So look for Shipment 1 on a WooCommerce store near you. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just don't understand it. All righty. Next question is from Ben. Hey, Ben. Oh, regarding, Ben says, thank you, Jamie, for posting that link. If you have a question to ask, the link is in the chat. Okay. Ben says, regarding the new WordPress 7.0 rollout and AI connectors, do you know if you are controlling your site from your chosen AI provider, or will you be using AI in WordPress? So yes, and both, I think. I think the way this is going to work, let me revise my answer because I don't know. What they're building is this, the AI connectors, like that. We've been talking about this in WordPress news on office hours now for several months, how the AI team is doing all these things to expose with the Abilities API, a way for AI tools to see all the things that all the plugins on the site can do, along with what core WordPress can do. And not only that, how to execute those functions through WP CLI or whatever. And so these connectors are the other side of that. So WordPress is bringing to the table through the Abilities API a way for AI tools to look at these abilities. And essentially, this is really similar to an MCP server, where it's an instruction set of these are all the things we can do, and this is how you tell us how to do them. And then you connect the AI tool through these connectors that we just saw, and they'll be able to do the things that the Abilities API exposes to them. Does that make sense? So am I going to be able to, in a ChatGPT conversation, say, write me a new post that says this? I don't think so, right? At least right now. Now, here with Claude Code, you could do that because you could build a connector to your site and it could do those things. That's one of the differences of Claude Code or Claude Cowork. But with these connectors that WordPress 7 is providing, it's really how do I use the ability, like how do I access the abilities via these connectors that I'm setting up? Does that make sense at all, Ben? But I don't know. This is still beta. It's very beta. Melanie is saying, will it be using an API? SEO Press uses an API and you have to pay for that. Yeah. So the connectors that we just saw are going to be like, it's not your ChatGPT account. I don't think. Like, I could be, there's no tell, like it's beta, but it seems like what they're doing based on what I've read, it's, you go into OpenAI, you create an API key, and then you connect that back to WordPress, right? And so that's a metered pay, per token kind of a situation. Again, really cheap, generally speaking, depending on your model that you're using. The way I see this happening is there'll be some sort of chat interface, likely exposed by some plugins in WordPress to do things like this, so that you can edit your site with a prompt rather than having to go click. All right, let's see. Next up is Chris. 2 questions left, folks. Probably have time for 1 or 2 more, depending on how long these are. But yeah, you can ask your questions with the link that was kindly dropped in the chat a little bit earlier by Jamie. Okay, here is the first question from Chris. Chris says, Redis object cache. What is it? Where do you use it? And what does it do? Great question. So a Redis object, Redis is one of a couple of very common object caches that are used in servers that power typically WordPress. You've got Redis and you've got Memcached. There are certain benefits to each one. For a WordPress site, probably either one is going to do. We use Redis in our agency just because that's what we started using. It's so what is it? So a Redis, it's not a page cache. Okay, so when you think about caching and page caching being like we take all the stuff on the front end and we flatten it into one HTML file, right? And that speeds up the site. This is not that kind of caching. What this is PHP object caching. And so the difference is object caching is going to take PHP like the outputs of functions and things like that, and it caches that. So it's like it goes out and grabs some stuff out of the database and it holds that as an object. Or if the server has to calculate something to give to the front end, it's going to hold that as an object. It's like PHP output. Does that make sense? And so object caches can really help to speed up your site, especially if you have a lot of complicated things going on there. It can also help speed up the WordPress backend as well. So we notice a real speed increase in the WordPress backend, especially with sites like WooCommerce sites and things like that. When you go to a page of WooCommerce analytics and it's got all this number crunching to do, it'll save that stuff in an object cache and pull that unless it, and after time the cache expires. The problem in that scenario is sometimes that data can get stale. So it may be loading a cached version instead of the real version. And so in our case, we use a Lightspeed server on our hosting.com virtual dedicated server. And you have, let's see if it's even here. Do we have Yes. So right here, right there. See, we can purge just the object cache. And so it is very helpful. It can definitely, it's one of the pieces of caching that can help speed up your site. Chris is asking, do all servers use it? It depends on your server. Most of them do. Redis is an open source cache. And so it's available in a cPanel environment, like out of the box. You just need to talk to your host and see what those settings are. So to make it work in a hosting.com cPanel situation, you need to set up your in each cPanel, you'll get a URL a port number where Redis lives in that cPanel, and you just put that into your Lightspeed settings. If you're on a hosting.com VPS, like this one is. Let me just look here, cache, and then object cache. Yeah, so here, oh no, it's not. Oh no, it is enabled. Oh, but it's not working. So object cache is on, but it's actually not connected to anything. But what we would have to do is we would have to go into the cPanel for WP Nathan, find the port that Redis is actually using, paste it in here, then it's all connected up. And object caching is working. Shauna is saying that Redis and Memcached are not available on shared servers with Bluehost. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Chris is asking, do all servers use it? It just depends. You'll find it oftentimes you need to be at like a VPS or dedicated server VDS level hosting and not a shared environment to see object caching. You don't have to have a password, or maybe you do here. I'll have to go back and look at our doc. I don't touch this usually, but we have a process when we're setting all this up. And it may be that we do. You're correct, Melanie. There's no username, but there's a port and a password when you're setting up Redis. And all that will be in your cPanel settings. It'll show you that, and you just copy it over there, and you're gold. Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense? Does that help your question, Chris? Big news is, if you're on a good server, you ought to have access to Redis or Memcached as an object cache, and you probably ought to use it. It's going to speed things up. Great question. All righty. Let's see. One more question from Chris. This is the last question, folks. So if you have a question to ask, use that link in the chat, which I'm about to post in there again. Whoop, that was Chris's question. Let's post that link for questions again in the chat here. And feel free to drop another one in because we'll probably have time for another one. Because this is a good question as well. Chris says, another quick one, LLMs.txt. What are your thoughts? All right. This is something that if you are in the SEO world, there are big debates about this. Some people say LLMs.txt is great. You should absolutely use it. It will make a difference in all of that. Others say, doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So my approach is it doesn't hurt to do this. What is an LLMs.txt file? It looks like this. So it's just like an XML sitemap. But what it does is it gives a link to all of your pages and how you want them to be indexed. Now, I have a plugin on nathaningram.com. It's not hard to generate. Actually, let me find. I gave this plugin out a couple of weeks ago. Let me see if I can find it for you real quick. And it actually produces this. Hang on a minute. See if it'll find it with that. Shoot. No, that's not going to help. It was on GitHub. Yoast actually wrote this plugin. There it is. Maybe not. Maybe it's here. No, that's not it. I don't know. Oh, there it is right here. Pasting this here. Okay, so this is Cloudflare Markdown for agents. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, but scrolling right here, Markdown alternate. This is a WordPress plugin produced by Yoast's team at Progress Planner. And what it does is it allows you to go to any page on your WordPress site, and just instead of it being /about, which is here, hey, there's me. Just put .md instead, and it just outputs things in Markdown. So the reason this is helpful is LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, they like Markdown text because it preserves the semantic order of things like H1, H2, H2, blah, 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 bullet points like this without all of the gobbledygook of HTML markup. So it takes like 1/8 the processing power to process through content of a Markdown file versus HTML. Does that make sense? So they like this. And the theory is, and who knows, but the theory is if you feed the AI tool Markdown, it might like you better. So, hey, it doesn't hurt to try. Now, what I did was I built another little companion the royal meaning me and Claude, built this little teeny plugin that partners with the Progress Planner plugin right there to create this LLMs.txt based on pages that need to appear and their Markdown equivalent. So it's populated and AI tools can find it. So LLMs.txt is not a codified standard at all. However, many LLM tools are using it. So TJ, does this require to be logged into the site to generate the Markdown? No, I am not logged into nathaningram.com right now, as you see. So you could go there and see this text. Jamie, so you need the plugin to use the trailing /LLMs.txt. Yeah, I mean, this is like we're instructing the LLM right here to say, you can go to all pages or posts by appending MD. We're just letting we're letting the AI tools know that all of our URLs are accessible with a .md. But literally all I did was I downloaded the plugin, which you do right here, by the way. If you've never used GitHub to pull a plugin, you just download the zip file, and that is the plugin file. And so let me pull this out. Here's the zip file. And this is just a WordPress plugin. And so what I did was I exploded this folder and I gave Claude access to it locally and said, okay, here's this thing that they built. Here's the GitHub repo URL to learn about it because they got some documentation here. And what I want to do is have another little plugin that uses this, assuming that we have .md after our URLs, build an LLMs.txt based on any page. This is the thing. Any page that the Yoast plugin, which we also use on our sites, but it's any page the Yoast plugin has marked as index, right? So if it says no index, I don't want that to appear in my LLMs.txt. So it has some assumptions built in, but literally my prompt was about as messy as what I just said out loud. I've moved away from perfect prompt crafting, and I just dump with, I use WhisperFlow or Voice Dash to just verbally dump what I'm wanting it to do, give it the plugin as context, and let it do it. And it works great. So it generated this little plugin, and there we go. Does that make, are y'all tracking what I'm saying here? We're a long way away from the original question of what is LLMs.txt. But that's what we did. And it literally took like 5 minutes to build that plugin. It was done. It was done. And yes, Claude built that plugin for me. And honestly, if you look right here, guess who built the plugin for Yoast? The .claude folder is right there, which means this is Claude's instruction set, which you could totally steal. If you want to see their instructions for Claude on how they build plugins, you can just grab them right there in these Markdown documents. Y'all, everybody's using AI to build these plugins. Like it's how it goes today. So the basic answer to your question is nobody really knows how successful LLMs.txt is going to be, but it doesn't hurt to use it, right? Doesn't hurt to use it. It is not a standard yet, but many of the AI tools are looking for that when they come to your site. Oh, it's a fun time to be alive, isn't it? Or we could use another adjective. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. That finishes up for office hours today. We are back on Tuesday for dialing in your pricing. And of course, office hours again next Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with me for an hour. I hope your brain has been tickled just a little bit and you have some fun building out some of these things over the next several days. But I hope you do no work this weekend and you get to have a little downtime and recharge your battery. And let's all start fresh on Monday. See you back here on Tuesday for dialing in your pricing here on Hosting.com's Agency Success, where we go further together.